Do you like the classic, tortured, handsome protagonist trope? Do you like to unpack that handsome but troubled character's trauma? Then we should talk about Who Killed Leda Strike? The Strike novels and the television adaptations are pretty self-contained. You could join the adventures of Strike and Ellicott as season 4 of a show, or book number 6 without really needing too much of an explainer on the backstory. I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to miss some really beautiful character development, but it would, technically, be possible. The only mysteries that really carry through the series are the will-they-won't-they romantic tension between Strike and Robin, which isn't much of a mystery because they absolutely will. I mean, look at them. Look!
How do I look? Be honest.
Beautiful.
If you didn't think this scene was something straight out of a rom-com, then I just don't know how to talk to you. Strike thinks of Robin as destined for marriage, so I've decided to refer to this as Chekhov's marriage.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
They 100% will be getting together. It's just a matter of when and how. The other mystery carried over is the question of who killed Cormoran's mother, Leda Strike. Leda was a notorious rock groupie back in the day, the kind of person the trashy tabloids labelled as a party girl, but from what we've gleaned from Strike's reminiscing of the novels, it's clear that she had untreated mental health problems, which sadly led to Leda neglecting her children. Luckily for Strike and his half-sister Lucy, Leda's brother Ted and his wife Joan would take the children in and look after them when Leda went off following a band she liked around the world on tour or hooked up with a new guy. If it wasn't for the stability that Ted and Joan provided, who knows where Leda's kids would have ended up. I think this is where Strike's innate kindness and patience with troubled people comes from. On some level, he's trying to help his mother, but also all the children who were not as lucky as he was. Leda was found dead in a building she was squatting in with her second husband Jeff Whittaker. Shanker, Leda's sort of adopted son, lived at the squat too, but was out of town when she passed away. Whittaker was arrested, and there was a court case, but ultimately he walked free and the death was ruled an accidental heroin overdose. Strike's hatred for his stepfather, grief for his mother, and his feelings of guilt for leaving her alone with Whittaker to attend uni gave him tunnel vision on this matter. He is convinced Whittaker killed her, to the point that despite possessing an amazing detective's mind, he never even considers any other options, which is why fans are convinced that he can't be the real killer. Obviously, the only real overarching mystery of the series has sparked much debate and speculation for fans. Whilst reading the books, my mind concocted a half-baked theory in the background without my permission, which was rude. I'm trying to read a book about two detectives falling in love, and my subconscious is out there trying to solve a crime? My very loosely thought out theory was inspired by the line about Lucy running off when she was 14. It could have been a throwaway line, just exposition about young Lucy's choice to live with her aunt and uncle, and give up on Leda entirely, but it just stuck in my mind as something more. It seemed to me like Lucy wasn't just repulsed by Whittaker, but that perhaps he had hurt her. Knowing Lucy's desire to have a normal, calm and stable life with no drama, if she had been hurt by someone, I don't think she would have told her brother. Strike's reaction would have been to kill Whittaker, or at the very least, seriously hurt him. If something horrible had happened to her in that squat, remembering that this is just my theory, and she went to her mother, who, sadly, hadn't always put the best interest of her children first, if Leda didn't do anything about the hypothetical abuse, then that would be the motive for someone close to the family to snap and decide that Leda had to go. I had imagined a man, perhaps a friend or a past lover of Leda's, the kind of guy who wanted to be there as a stepfather to the kids and a part of their lives, seeing Leda let her daughter down and putting the fake overdose plan into action. Oof, that was a bit dark, wasn't it? Here's a picture of a kitten mad at flowers for some reason, to lighten the mood. I was quite happy with my wee theory until I saw this interview with the author.
Through the whole of the first 3 books, I have seeded future plots, so I already know where he's going to go, and I've already mentioned things I need to mention. And I've mentioned people I need to have mentioned because you will meet them in further books. So the larger plot is about these 2 characters and what happens to them personally. That's the thing I'm really keeping an eye on.
So there's no chance of an unnamed and previously unmentioned bloke trying to protect young Lucy being possible. But this angle on the why behind Leda's murder could still tie into some other fan theories. Stable and reliable Uncle Ted? Surely not.
Don't call me Shirley.
These theories have been circulating for a few years now, and discussed thoroughly online to the point that I can't quite pinpoint who came up with them all. If it was you, please let me know in the comments so that I can credit you. The Ted Done It theory hypothesizes that Strike's Uncle Ted finally got tired of Leda letting her children down, or that he wanted himself and Joan to have the kids, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally. By the time Leda died, Cormoran was already a legal adult away at university, and Lucy had chosen to live with her aunt and uncle full-time years before the murder. Yes, Switch. That's what Leda and Whittaker named their son. In their defence, the Nintendo version hadn't come out back then. Oh, and they are fictional, so there's that. The not often mentioned youngest son of Leda Strike was only a baby when his mother died, and custody of him could have gone to Ted and Joan, which I guess could have been a motive. But it seems like they didn't even try to have Switch come and live with him after his mother passed away. I'll be brief for this one because, just no. Lucy wants a boring, normal life with 2.4 children, a boring husband and zero excitement. I have no doubt that Lucy holds a large amount of resentment towards her mother, but not enough to commit murder. It's a no from me. This theory actually has a bit of weight behind it because she is the dictionary definition of evil. Strike's ex absolutely would resort to murder to get what she wants. But I'm not sure what Charlotte would gain from it. She would be the most important person in Cormoran's life, sure. It would mess him up just as much as her. She could swoop in and comfort him, manipulate him into thinking he needs her. I can see why this theory is popular. I first heard this theory on the brilliant Strike and Ellicott's Files podcast. If you haven't already checked it out, I'll link it below. I'll be discussing their theory here, mixed in with expansions upon it I've seen online, because that's just how my neurospicy brain works, so I will be diverting from their theory slightly. If you want to read their theory in full, they have a blog post which I will also link to below. This theory posits that the solicitor dealing with the child support from Cormoran's estranged rock star father, Johnny Rokeby, either killed or had Leda killed. The solicitor, Peter Gillespie, purposely made it difficult for Leda to get access to the fund in an attempt to stop her spending it on things other than her son, which is actually fair and probably a good thing, but Leda eventually stopped taking any of the money at all. Strike believes his stepfather killed his mum because he wanted to get at this money, and the child support money for Lucy, who also had a rockstar father, because Leda for sure had a type. The motive part of this theory hinges upon Gillespie stealing the money. Despite previously coming up with my own theory, this theory from the Legends at the Files podcast is by far my favourite and makes the most sense to me. The only part of the theory I struggle with is the idea that Leda found out Gillespie was helping himself to the cash and maybe blackmailed him, or that she finds out and threatens to expose him. The vibe I get from Leda just doesn't line up with the idea of a blackmailer. And if she had threatened to expose him, either overtly or was just in the position to do so, then Gillespie would have had to kill her quickly. He wouldn't have had the time to wait for the perfect moment when Strike was at university and Shankar was out of town. Lindsay and Pools write in their blog post, another possibility is that perhaps there was a connection between Whittaker and Gillespie. If Whittaker had discovered, in the previous scenario, that money was missing from the child support account, could he have begun blackmailing Gillespie to cover up his malfeasance? And I can buy this because Jeff Whittaker is exactly the brand of Wangstein who would blackmail someone.
The secret ingredient is crime.
The theory goes on to suggest that perhaps Whittaker and Gillespie teamed up to kill Leda and split the money between them. Now, I don't know much about Gillespie, but if he was smart enough to commit a murder 20 odd years ago and never be caught for it, I'd imagine he would also be smart enough to take out a liability like Whittaker. So I personally think that if they had worked together, then Jeff wouldn't be roaming the streets, taking advantage of young, vulnerable women like he currently is. Leda Strike does not seem to me the kind of person who kept up with her correspondence at all. She's the kind of person who hasn't seen her birth certificate in decades. Add to that the fact that she was no longer interested in Cormoran's child support fund, so if any letters were sent to her about it, and when I say sent I mean passed from person to person and somehow finding her, because how do you receive mail living in an illegal squat? Either way, it would not have been hard for Whittaker to get his hands on the paperwork for the account and see the balance or any withdrawals. He wouldn't have been able to withdraw anything himself, but the knowledge he could have accessed. I think he saw money leaving the account that Leda hadn't taken, realised that Gillespie was indeed embezzling from the account and decided to blackmail him. Only I think the horrid little excuse for a man decided to do so in his wife's name. Sending letters demanding money perhaps, and signing them in Leda's name in case the extortion was ever reported. Gillespie then thinks Leda is the one blackmailing him, maybe even drops envelopes of cash for the door at the squat a few times to keep her quiet, and watches until the timing is perfect, then takes the opportunity to administer the fatal overdose, whilst Leda is quite happily asleep and probably stoned.
There's usually something quite sad at the back of it all.
Obviously there are still huge parts of this puzzle missing. As I'm making this, we have a title and a release date for the 7th book in the Strike and Ellicott series, but 0 plot hints. Hopefully the running grave will give us some clues to who done it. But those are just my thoughts on the matter. Feel free to tell me yours in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.